There are very few countries that do not recognize Palestine. Today I want to look at all the countries that refuse to do so and that do not plan on doing so. So I'm going to be excluding countries, of course, like Canada, France, and the United Kingdom, which all plan on recognizing Palestine very soon. Let's first look at Europe. There's really only two groups of countries that do not recognize Palestine. Those are the first group is countries that were NATO members or neutral during the Cold War. This includes, for instance, Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Greece, and Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Switzerland, Monaco, and Portugal. The second group of countries are countries that used to be part of the Soviet Union. This includes, for instance, the three Baltic states of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, as well as Moldova. They do not recognize Palestine. And there's also the countries that used to be part of Yugoslavia. This includes, for instance, Croatia, North Macedonia, and depending on who you ask, Kosovo, which some people consider to be a country and some people do not. These group of countries, they do not recognize Palestine because of anti-Soviet and anti-communist sentiment. The Soviet Union in its later years was quite supportive of Palestine, and so these countries by default do not recognize Palestine. Very stupid in my opinion, and very sad, of course. And one thing that's kind of interesting is Kosovo is actually the only Muslim majority country in the world that does not recognize Palestine. This is because in 1999, NATO engaged in airstrikes in support of Kosovo. And so to this day, Kosovo is actually one of the most pro-American countries in the world, and for that reason, they do not recognize Palestine. Now let's look at the Americas. There's actually only two countries that don't recognize Palestine. This is the United States and Panama. The United States, of course, sends billions of dollars worth of military assistance to Israel and is always under pressure from the Zionist lobby. Panama is a more interesting example. This is the only Latin American country that does not recognize Palestine. I think the reason for this is because, of course, of the Panama Canal, which is absolutely vital to the United States. So vital that the Panama Canal at one point was actually an overseas territory of America, and the United States has actually invaded Panama before. They did so back in 1989, and so I think Panama is quite scared as a small country. It doesn't want to upset the United States and therefore aligns its foreign policy with that of America. Then we turn to Asia. Most of these countries are just simply allies of the United States and therefore do not recognize Palestine. This includes, of course, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, and depending on who you ask if it's a country or not, Taiwan. Then we have a peculiar case, Myanmar. Myanmar does not recognize Palestine. The reason for this is because Myanmar is currently carrying out a genocide against the Rohingya people, and in doing so, it actually receives lots of military support from Israel. Pretty much if you're ever looking at genocide, you will often see Israel's fingerprints all over it, and in this case, it's no different. Then, of course, if we go to West Asia, the only country that doesn't recognize Palestine is Israel, and that's quite obvious. Israel is a scummy country and wants to take over Palestine, so there you go. Then we turn to Oceania, and there is quite a few countries, but you have to understand some of these countries don't even have more than 20,000 people. These are small island countries. A lot of these island countries, these small island countries, are quite close to the United States. In fact, some, like for instance, like Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, as well as, for instance, Palau. These countries are so close to the United States, they're almost virtually overseas territories. People who live there are virtually American citizens and get a lot of the social services that Americans do. And the other countries that also do not recognize Palestine include Fiji, Kiribati, Nauru, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, and Tuvalu. A lot of these countries are also very close to the United States. Then we finally turn to Africa, and there's only two countries that don't recognize Palestine. Good job, Africa. You have shown a lot of solidarity with the Palestinian resistance. The first country is Cameroon. Cameroon has been under a dictatorship since 1982 under Paul Biya. Paul Biya almost was overthrown in the 1980s, but he was saved through the assistance of Israeli weaponry and military training that helped to keep him in power. He's actually still in power to this day. He's one of the oldest leaders in the world, and because Israel came in to save him, he refuses to recognize Palestine. Eritrea. Now, Eritrea is a real shame because, of course, Eritrea fought its own war of liberation against Ethiopia, and you think it should be drawing inspiration from the Palestinian liberation movement. One reason why Eritrea might not recognize Palestine is because rumor has it there was actually a brief time where Israel was actually running secret intelligence bases in the country. But I have actually written an article on this, and Eritrea in more recent years has actually been getting a lot closer to countries that are against the United States and Israel. So I do hope this one day changes, and I do believe most Eritreans want their government to recognize Palestine. So there it is, all the countries that do not recognize Palestine. In my opinion, these are pretty much countries that should be added to the list of leadership that is part of the Antichrist. And we have to also understand that these countries, for instance, do not represent their people. In many of these countries, most people actually want Palestine to be recognized, but their government refuses to do so. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. Go check out some of the other stuff I do. I do a very critical analysis of geography, and please share this video. It really helps me to continue to do what I do. Thanks.